Sharad Pawar says no information on any actual transaction on charges of the former top cop against Anil Deshmukh. BJP now adamant, says sack the Home Minister. And are there cracks in the Maha-Vikas Aghadi? An alliance leader tells NDTV that Anil Deshmukh may have to quit over corruption allegation. But NCP Minister Jayant Patil says no question of him being sacked. Sharad Pawar also said that the former top cop should head a probe, but Pero tells NDTV won't touch it. Numbers of COVID rising, biggest one-day COVID spike in Maharashtra, over 30,000 new cases. Mumbai also records the highest one-day spike, over 3,700 cases. Clash of Titans in West Bengal today. Mamata Banerjee urged people not to vote for the BJP. Prime Minister Modi addressing a rally warned Mamata that game or khela is about to end. And the Uttarakhand Chief Minister has done it again. This time says it is America who enslaved India for over 200 years. Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV 24/7. I'm Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor. Our top story coming in from the big fiasco unfolding in Maharashtra. A day after the former Commissioner for Police, Parambir Singh's letter bomb alleging serious corruption charges against the State Home Minister Anil Deshmukh, it's damaged control for the Maharashtra Alliance. Amid signs of lots of issues emerging between the alliance partner, Sharad Pawar, the senior NCP leader, has stepped in and said, in trying to do some damage control really over here, that the final decision rests with Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray. The opposition, meanwhile, BJP has made it clear that the government doesn't have the moral right to continue or to remain in office for a single day.
Maha-Vikas Aghadi government in Maharashtra faced with a new crisis in the wake of ex-top cop Parambir Singh's letter bomb, accusing Home Minister and NCP leader Anil Deshmukh of corruption. Now opposition BJP wants him to quit.
वैसे तो जांच सेंट्रल एजेंसीज ने की जानी चाहिए, लेकिन अगर आपको नहीं है विश्वास तो कोर्ट मॉनिटर्ड कीजिए, कोर्ट मॉनिटर्ड इंक्वायरी, ये इसमें सॉल्यूशन है जिसमें दूध का दूध पानी का पानी आएगा. इसलिए भारतीय जनता पार्टी की ओर से हम ये मांग करते हैं कि गृह मंत्री जी का इस्तीफा लेना चाहिए.
While the BJP is pressuring the government, even taking it to the streets, there is a difference of opinion even within the ruling alliance.
ते एक उत्तम अधिकारी होते. मी त्यांच्याविषयी व्यक्तिगत काही बोलणार नाही. त्यांनी आतापर्यंत उत्तम सेवा बजावलेली आहे. पण त्या पत्राची सत्यता आणि त्या पत्रात दिलेल्या गोष्टी या संदर्भात तपास करावा असं स्वतः गृहमंत्री अनिल देशमुख यांनी सांगितलेलं आहे. बीजेपी क्या कहती है और क्या कहेगी इसलिए सरकार नहीं चलती. सरकार का अपना एक रूल रेगुलेशन है. सरकार के पास बहुमत है इसलिए तो हम सरकार चलाते हैं, और बीजेपी के पास बहुमत नहीं है इसलिए अपोजिशन में है. तो सरकार को सरकार का काम करने दो.
A senior Shiv Sena leader told NDTV that the allegations against Anil Deshmukh are serious, it merits probe, and he cannot continue as Home Minister anymore.
NCP Chief Sharad Pawar, while describing the allegations by Parambir Singh as an afterthought, has suggested an independent investigation and did admit that Aghadi leaders would be meeting on the issue.
There is no information about actually collection of money, or actually money has been transferred or handed over to CM and not CM, Home Minister or his staff. It is a prerogative of the Chief Minister to take appropriate decision. So I honestly feel there has to be in-depth inquiry.
अनिल देशमुख की रेजिग्नेशन की कोई आवश्यकता नहीं है. हमारी एटीएस पूरा छानबीन के तपास कर रही है और हमें पूरा विश्वास है कि उसमें से हम कल्प्रिट कौन है वो जल्द से जल्द ढूंढ के निकालेंगे.
Mr. Pawar has made comments on what is essentially concerning a minister from that part of the coalition. I think it would not be fair for me to say anything.
Though this issue has created a discontent in the alliance, sources in both NCP and Shiv Sena say that their alliance is intact and there is no trust deficit between the parties. A decision on Anil Deshmukh is expected by Monday. With camera person Manu Nair, this is Arvind Gunasekar for NDTV.
And Maharashtra a cause of concern not just because of the politics that's brewing, but because of the COVID figures. Concerns over rising COVID cases are emerging from Maharashtra. With over 30,000 cases, the state recorded highest ever single-day spike since the beginning of the pandemic, while the capital city Mumbai there recorded over 3,700 cases to breach the figures, pushing the growth of the infection to over 0.63% in Mumbai. The case fatality there in the state is also at 2.15%. And if let's look at those numbers in a bit of detail now, and we talked about Maharashtra and Mumbai, let's look at an all India figure. India recorded the highest daily cases in nearly 4 months, over 43,800 cases and 197 deaths in just the past 24 hours. Now, central team to Uttarakhand also, those messages is gone that Uttarakhand also now emerging as one of the states where red flag has been raised. Centre has in fact told Uttarakhand to increase the number of RT-PCR tests.
India on Sunday recorded the highest daily cases in nearly 4 months. 43,846 new COVID cases and 197 deaths. As India witnesses what many are saying is the second wave of COVID-19, the central government has written to the Uttarakhand government strongly highlighting the concerns raised by a high-level central team which visited Uttarakhand on 16th and 17th March and asked the state to review preparedness for the ongoing Kumbh Mela at Haridwar. According to the report of the central team, 10 to 20 pilgrims and 10 to 20 locals are testing positive every day. Given the large footfall at Kumbh, cases may rise. Testing right now is inadequate. The central government has told Uttarakhand to increase share of RT-PCR tests as per ICMR guidelines, increase awareness of self-reporting, especially among local population, strictly follow SOPs issued by the Ministry of Health, ensure operationalization of adequate critical care treatment facilities, periodic testing of frontline workers before and after Snan days of the Kumbh, send samples for genome sequencing in an event of surge in cases. Healthcare experts continue to urge people to strictly maintain COVID-appropriate behavior as the number of cases continuously rises.
There could be many reasons for this. Number one is that we have got susceptible pool of vulnerable population which was not immunized and which did not even suffer from infection. So that could be one of the reasons. Number two is that people are not following COVID appropriate behavior.
While the central government has written to Uttarakhand, the bigger point of concern for the healthcare workers remain the big political rallies that are happening in the poll-bound states that are attracting thousands of people and are being attended and addressed by the ruling party and the opposition. And it seems that everyone has turned a blind eye to the concerns of the healthcare experts regarding the resurgence in the cases of COVID-19. With camera person Gauri Prasad and Dinesh Mansera in Dehradun, Amaksha Dongre for NDTV.
Uttarakhand Chief Minister Tirath Singh Rawat has done it again. After making headlines over his controversial ripped jeans comments, he now in a statement said, in fact it was a video at a rally where he blamed the United States for 200 years of rule in India. In a video of that speech, the Chief Minister is heard saying that America, which has enslaved us for 200 years and ruled the whole world, is struggling to control the coronavirus pandemic. Don't believe me? Listen for yourself.
भारत की 130-35 करोड़ की आबादी का देश आज भी अपने को राहत महसूस करता है अन्य देशों की अपेक्षा। जहां अमेरिका के 200 वर्ष हम लोग गुलाम थे, पूरे विश्व के अंदर उसका राज था, कभी सूरज छिपता ही नहीं था, यह कहते थे।
And let's move on to battleground states, starting with West Bengal. War of words between Prime Minister and Mamata Banerjee continued on the election trail in Bengal today, with Mr. Modi mocking Mamata for some of the TMC's wall graffiti on him. Mamata Banerjee, meanwhile, on her part, remained on the offensive throughout. Here's a face-off.
आजकल यहाँ दीदी के लोग दीवार पर तस्वीरें बना रहे हैं और तस्वीर में दीदी मेरे सिर पर अपना पैर मार रही है, मेरे सिर के साथ फुटबॉल खेल रही है।
The Kalahari anthem still center stage. The battle for Bengal just got personal. The PM mocking the CM for wall graffiti that reportedly has a bandaged foot in slippers planted on the head of a white bearded man.
दीदी आप मुझे लात भी मार सकती है, लेकिन दीदी मेरी दूसरी बात भी कान खोल करके सुन लीजिए। मैं आपको बंगाल के विकास को लात नहीं मारने दूंगा।
In her back-to-back rallies today and earlier, Mamata Banerjee unapologetically on the offensive.
আমি অনেক প্রধানমন্ত্রী দেখেছি, কিন্তু এইরকম নিষ্ঠুর, এরকম নিঠুর, এরকম স্বৈরাচারী, এরকম পুরো আমি দেখিনি। বিজেপি হচ্ছে দানবের দল, দৈত্যের দল, রাবণের দল, দুর্যোধনের দল, দুঃশাসনের দল, দুরাচারের দল, অশান্তির দল, সন্ত্রাসের দল, মানুষের পেট বন্ধ করে দেওয়ার দল।
The issue has reached the EC. BJP complaining of Mamata Banerjee's adjectives for Mr. Modi, TMC protesting repeated use of Bua Bhatija. All this on a day Shishir Adhikari, a TMC MP, shared stage with Amit Shah, clearly taking sides with his son Shubhendu, Mamata's rival at Nandigram. Mamata Banerjee, angry at being fooled, she said, by a family of traitors.
সেই ক্ষুদিরামের জেলায় আবার মির্জাফরও জন্মে, আবার বিশ্বাসঘাতকও জন্মে, আবার গদ্দারও জন্মে। কয়েকটা শয়তান পার্টি থেকে খেয়ে দিয়ে পার্টির সব টাকা কেড়ে নিয়ে তারপরে তারা যে বিজেপিতে চলে যাবে গদ্দারি করে, এটা আমি বুঝতে পারিনি।
Finally, a BJP manifesto with a plan for Sonar Bangla.
भारत माता की, भारत माता की, बीजेपी जिंदाबाद.
Trinamool, not impressed, mocking a manifesto read out entirely in Hindi. The sparring all set to get worse. In Kolkata, with GD Shankar, Monideepa Banerjee, NDTV.
To Assam now, where Prime Minister Modi held a third poll rally there after elections were declared in the state. Speaking at Bokakhad, the Prime Minister accused the Congress of giving false guarantees when it was in power at the centre and also in Assam. Meanwhile, Congress General Secretary Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, who is on a two-day campaign there, hit back.
एनडीए की डबल इंजन की सरकार ने टॉयलेट हो, एलपीजी गैस हो, बिजली हो, मुफ्त इलाज हो, ऐसी अनेक सुविधाएं आप तक पहुंचाई है। साथियों, कांग्रेस राज में असम के सामने सवाल था कि असम को लूटने से कैसे बचाएं। ये सवाल था कि नहीं था?
आज आपके सामने आकर क्या कहा प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कल कि आपको दो इंजन की सरकार मिलेगी, दो मुख्यमंत्री, दो इंजन की सरकार। भगवान ही आपको बचाए इन लोगों से। क्या पता कौन सा इंजन कौन से ईंधन से चलेगा, यहाँ से चलेगा, वहां से चलेगा, दिल्ली से चलेगा।
News from battleground Kerala now, where first a teacher, to then a minister, to then the Vogue list of Women of the Year. Now KK Shailaja, the Kerala Health Minister, will fight the election in the state for the fourth time. Kerala's COVID warrior in charge is now contesting from the CPIM bastion. The opposition has raised the 2018 killing of the Congress worker as a poll issue in that state. Here's a wrap.
From a teacher to leading the fight against COVID in Kerala, 65-year-old KK Shailaja, Kerala's second woman health minister, contesting for the fourth time, this time from Mattanur constituency in Kannur, a CPM stronghold and her hometown. Seen by colleagues as a hands-on minister, Nipah and COVID were some of the outbreaks she has led her team against, and those efforts are now main campaign pitch.
And we can strengthen our health system capacity threshold, and the pandemic potential was below, every time it is below, in each and every time it is below under the health system capacity threshold. That's the secret of our victory. And now also the mortality rate is only 0.4%. And never our hospitals become flooded by COVID patients.
In this very red bastion, where another CPM minister, E.P. Jayarajan, won with a margin of around 40,000 votes in 2016, is this small shop run by C.P. Mohammed, who has named the shop after his 29-year-old son, Shuhaib, the family breadwinner and a youth Congress worker who was murdered about 3 years ago. Among those arrested were CPM party workers and supporters.
നമ്മളെ എൻ്റെ കുടുംബത്തിൻ്റെ എല്ലാമായിരുന്നത്. അതിന് ശേഷം ഇന്ന് വരെ ഒരു സന്തോഷത്തോടു കൂടി ഒരു ചിരി പോലും ചിരിച്ചിട്ടില്ല, പുഞ്ചിരിക്ക് പോലും ചിരിച്ചിട്ടില്ല. ഇന്നും ഞാനും എൻ്റെ കുടുംബവും 3 പെൺമക്കളും ഒരു ഉമ്മയും ഒരു ഉപ്പയും ഒരു മകനും എല്ലാം കുടുംബമായിരുന്നു എൻ്റെ. CPM-കാർ ആരും ഇതുവരെക്കും നമ്മളെ വീട്ടിലോ നമ്മളെ കുടുംബത്തിലോ വന്നിട്ട് ആരും ഇന്ന് വരെക്കും ഒരു ശാന്തന വാക്ക് പോലും പറഞ്ഞിട്ടില്ല.
എൻ്റെ ഷുഹൈബിൻ്റെ ഫാദർ എനിക്ക് കളക്ട് ചെയ്ത് തരുന്ന ജാമ്യസംഖ്യ എൻ്റെ കയ്യിൽ ഏൽപ്പിക്കുന്ന പറഞ്ഞത്. ഇന്ന് വൈകുന്നേരമാണ് എൻ്റെ പ്രവർത്തനം ഔപചാരിക ആരംഭിക്കുന്നത്. അത് എൻ്റെ മെസ്സേജാണ്, കേരളത്തിൽ ഇനിയുള്ള സംഭവങ്ങൾ പെരിയ നടന്ന പോലെ ഇതേപോലെ സംഭവങ്ങൾ ഇനി ആവർത്തിക്കപ്പെടരുത്.
Congress has fielded ally RSP from this constituency, a party with no significant base here. Well, COVID pandemic is a reality. Wearing your masks is a must. But it's also election season. And what does this mean? Very interestingly, let us show you this. You have BJP, CPM and Congress masks here. All of this is election special, obviously because of a pandemic which has made masks a necessity.
കൊലപാതകത്തിന് എതിരാണ്. അതിപ്പം വെഞ്ഞാറമൂട് രണ്ടാളെ കൊന്നിട്ടില്ല, 2 CPM-മാർ എവിടെ കൊന്നാലും ആര് കൊന്നാലും തെറ്റാണ്.
With camera person SP Babu, Sneha Koshi for NDTV.
With that, we're going to slip it to a break. More news coming up. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, Ashoka University has admitted that there have been lapses in institutional processes surrounding the exits last week of 2 top academics, citing free speech curbs. Now, the privately funded liberal arts institutes has said that it will work to rectify these slips, to quote them, in consultation with all stakeholders. Acknowledging their a joint statement from the university's top functionaries and the 2 outgoing faculty members, Pratap Bhanu Mehta and Arvind Subramaniam, sought to emphasize that they both continue to believe in Ashoka University being one of the most important projects in Indian higher education. Also, a quote from that, we acknowledge that there have been some lapses in institutional processes which we will work to rectify in consultation with all stakeholders. This will reaffirm our commitment to academic autonomy and freedom, which have always been the core of Ashoka University ideals. That's what the statement said. Meanwhile, the academician and political commentator Pratap Bhanu Mehta, whose resignation from that university last week reignited a discussion on the consequences of criticizing the ruling BJP, wrote to students, saying whom he addressed as superheroes, praising them for their bracing moral clarity and deep political wisdom. Also, to quote from that, rebellion grounded in a concern for freedom and democracy. Now, in his letter, Mr. Mehta, a vocal critic of the BJP-led National Democratic Alliance government, spoke of dark shadows of authoritarianism mechanism that needed to be fought in a principled and intelligent manner, and indicated that he drew comfort from the poise and articulency which students defended important values and demanded accountability. Strong words over there. Moving on now, in Bengaluru, the country's first air-conditioned railway terminal is almost ready. It has all the amenities that usually are available for passengers at the airports.
Bengaluru will soon have the first air-conditioned railway terminal in the country, with the latest facilities like charging points and a waiting hall that's making the people of Bangalore proud.
And I've traveled all over the world, but I'm so surprised when our country, India, Bangalore, can come out with such beautiful things. I'm sure one day our country, every state, every town will have railways like this, and we'll really feel proud.
There's also a VVIP lounge with separate areas for men and women. The terminal is spread over 4,200 square meters. It has 7 air-conditioned platforms. 50,000 people are expected to use it each day. The project was cleared about 6 years ago at a cost of 315 crores.
ready है, just इसमें connection देगा क्या direct will come.
अच्छा. और पूरा platform.
सभी निकाल सकते हैं, but
This will be the third major terminal in Bengaluru city, from where long-distance trains will operate by the end of the month.
I think everybody, every Bangalore, not only Bangalore, every Indian will be proud to come and see this place and witness this place.
This state-to-the-art railway terminal would be operational soon, where passengers would get amenities so far available only at airports. With camera person Govind Murthy, Nihal Khidwai for NDTV.
All right, that's all we could pack in this edition of news. Lots more coming up. Stay tuned.